Yo, what's good YouTube, man? It's Gary with another Fan TV, man. Back at another video. At the content of this video, go and smash that like button. The content of this channel, go and hit subscribe, man. Look, so what I want to talk about today is the Ravens wide receiver core. Well, the Ravens pass catcher as a whole, coming off of, 2 games ago now versus the Steelers, how we were feeling about the drop passes. Then we come on the Tennessee Titans game, where there were no drops, but obviously, there were struggles in the red zone. So pretty much I'm saying is, like, how do we feel about the Ravens pass catching unit as a whole right now? And do they need to add another person in here? Okay, so when I look at the Ravens and I think about how the pass catchers are playing, when I watch the game again, I like where they are as a unit. I feel like the guys are running open. I feel like they are outside Steelers game, they're catching the passes, right? And I feel comfortable where when the ball's in the air, I know it's going to come down with the Ravens receiver, right? That's kind of how I feel. When that hasn't really always been the case, right? I remember just last year, say if a team was a heavy man-to-man team, I would worry about the Ravens getting off on those kind of guys, on those kind of teams, because they didn't really have people who could separate one-on-one. Now I feel like they have a couple of guys that can do that and place it to the right spot, all right? Moving the ball between the 20s hasn't been an issue all year, and even scoring in the red zone the first 4 weeks was great. The last 2 weeks has been a struggle. So I like where the Ravens currently sit right now. Right now, do they need an upgrade? Would a trade help them? Possibly, right? But I think I talked about already in the with the video we did with the trade deadline, where I think they have other areas of this team that they could hit before hitting the wide receiver. We talked about defensive line, and there's some guys out there that could really help the Ravens defensive line, even though this D line did close out that game versus the Titans pretty well, right? So listen, when I look at the wide receiver core, I know there's guys out there like Jerry Jeudy and some from the same team, Cortland Sutton, that can come in here and maybe help the team, right? But my thing is this, right? If you get a Jerry Jeudy, he's talented, but at the same time, the same thing that we complained about the Steelers game and drop pass and stuff like that, inconsistency. Jerry Jeudy's a guy who's been very, very inconsistent in his career, right? So I would almost prefer a Cortland Sutton anyway if we was going that route. But for this team, I think it's really about rhythm, right? Can they continue to run throughout the 4 quarters of a football game, right? That's what it's really about. Because I don't think that the Ravens need to change what they got going on as far as they got the guys that are catching the football. I love what they're doing. I really do. When you sit back and really watch it, as of right now, they're getting open, right? That could change. The Ravens have some tough tests coming on down the line. I'll probably do a video talking about that stretch of games, but this week are coming up. They play the Lions. I'll be at the Lions game, so I'll be able to see them in person. Really get a feel for what's going on out there. But Ravens got a tough stretch coming on. You play the Lions, you play Seahawks, different teams that can really put it to you. 49ers later in the year, Dolphins. So the Ravens have a tough stretch where wide receivers are going to have to step up for Ravens to put points on the board. But as we sit right now, when in the trade deadline, a week closer, I still say there are areas on the team that can be upgraded besides receiver, right? If they make a trade for a receiver and there's somebody that can legitimately help this team, I know a guy that's been very, very popular out there as far as Ravens fans mention them is Davante Adams, right? So could Davante Adams come in and help the Ravens? Of course. Davante Adams is a top 3 receiver in the NFL. He's one of the best receivers over the last, 7 years that the league has seen. You know what I mean? So he's been a dominant player. At the same time, I looked up DeAndre Hopkins. I looked up Davante Adams' contract, and he's owed like $90 million over the next 3 seasons. And do I see the Ravens paying it out for a guy who's already 30 plus at the tail end of his career? More than likely, I don't. Right. So if we talk about realistic options, how many realistic options are there out there for a trade that will realistically upgrade the pass catching unit? So really, it's the guys in Denver, and then trades don't happen within divisions too much. Unless you got like that T.J. Hawkinson, the Lions and the Vikings they don't trade in inside your division, which you don't really see too often, especially for a player that's in their prime. Obviously the Bengals have T. Higgins, but that's not happening. So this Ravens unit, this pass catching unit, I feel good about it. So I kind of want to ask you guys, right? From last week, we had a big, I would say, stir of emotions from fans all across the board, right? The wide receiver stink. It's the same thing as last year. We need to get a whole new wide receiver core. I kind of want to ask that do those feelings, are they still there for you, right? Do you still feel like the Ravens, this wide receiver core will not cut it? That well, I keep saying wide receiver core, but this package unit as a whole, right? Because you got to include Mark Andrews in the mix, right? He is a big part of this passing game. So do you feel like they need to make an upgrade as a whole, right? I mean, as I said multiple times, for me, I like where they are right now. I wouldn't make that move. I understand it if they did it, but for me, I would like to say, stay where you at, right? And then another trade target that that could help the passing game as well, different position, but is Saquon Barkley. I've seen that thrown out there from multiple media outlets, and should the Ravens make a play for Saquon Barkley? And it's like, all right, Saquon Barkley is an incredible running back, super talented, but also I don't feel like that's what's missing on the team either, right? I don't feel like the running backs are playing poorly, right? I think Gus Edwards could do better, but Justice Hill is averaging 4 yards a carry. He can clean up the fumbles, and he can still catch the ball at the backfield. I mean, Justice Hill has 10 catches on the year so far on 10 targets. So, every time he's throwing the ball, it's being caught right now. Obviously, that's, dump offs and check downs and stuff like that, but he's still making a play that's there. So, and then if you add Keith Mitchell into the fold, these guys aren't near the level of Saquon Barkley. Not even trying to, get close to saying that. But I think the Ravens are okay running back. For me, when I look at the Ravens team, right, I look at, so when you go to targets, yards, and receptions, right, that's all Zay Flowers. So Zay Flowers has 48 targets on the year, 35 catches, 367 yards, right? The next closest person in targets is Mark Andrews with 34. Mark Andrews only played one last game. So players that played all 6 games, right? The next closest guy after that is Nelson Aguilar, who's got 20 targets. So if we're talking about people who played all 6 games, there's a target gap between Zay Flowers and that guy of 28 targets. For me, that's the biggest thing for this Ravens pass catching team, right? Is can they get more guys involved? Can they get more guys involved more frequently? Because you don't want to cut Zay Flowers out of the game plan. But at the same time, eventually defenses are going to stop treating him just like a regular rookie and really key in on this guy and try to take him away. So when that happens, what's your answer for that? So when I say that this Ravens pass catching unit has more potential to go even higher, that's what I mean, right? Because, listen, Mike Andrews has 24 catches on 34 targets. Nelson Aguilar has 16 catches on 20 targets. Then Rashad Bateman has 10 catches on 15 targets, right? In 5 games played. And to me, that's where I'm at with it. That's the big one right there, because it's like, coming into this season, there was a lot of host places on Rashad Bateman, fair or unfair, whatever, right? But as a guy that you want to see do more, I think in this last game, he played under 50% of the snaps again, right? So you have a guy that's talented, and you're not even giving him the opportunity to be out there fully, right? I believe Nelson Aguilar outsnapped him. So at this point in the year, it can't just be about working him back slowly. I know he had the foot, he had the hamstring, he's been chronically injured. But at some point, you got to just throw him out there and let him play 75% of the snaps and see what happens. Because you're wasting a guy that through 5 games only has 15 targets. That's just not enough, right? I mean, just be quite honest, it's not enough. And he's caught 10 of them, so that's a pretty good rate, right? When Lamar Jackson is targeting him, he's coming down with it. At the same time, Odell Beckham, same way, right? Ravens have a lot of guys that you want to get involved, so it's hard to get all of these different guys involved in the offense, but the target disparity just has to close that gap a little bit. So if I'm thinking about where I'm at 1 week from that atrocious Steelers game to now, is that I still love what the wide receiver core is doing. I just want to see a more evenly spread distribution amongst the receivers. Because that way you make yourself harder to stop, harder to guard. Everybody knows that you're going to Zay Flowers, Mark Andrews, when in high leverage moments you should, right? I mean, not to talk out of both sides of my mouth here, but you want to target your best players, but at the same time you want to have guys that are going to be singled up and can win. And I think Rashad Bateman and Odell Beckham can do that. So they need a little bit more targets in the pass game, a little bit more design for them in the pass game. So 1 week later from the Steelers game, after playing the Titans, I feel good about the Ravens pass catching unit. I don't think they need to make a trade for anybody in particular. And that's why I stand with it. So let me know if you agree or disagree with that. And then we'll talk about it in the comments, man. But it's Gabriel, Just Another Fan TV. I'm out.